If you are a buyer or looking to buy in 2026 and you just aren't sure where to start, well, in today's video, I compiled the 10 most asked questions and I am going to give you the answers to those so that you can just be as informed as possible when you go ahead and get started on your search. If you're in the Cleveland area, let's connect. I'd be happy to assist you. If you're not in Cleveland, still, let me know, give me a call, shoot me a text if you need an agent in your area and I would be happy to assist you. All right, so let's jump into this video. Top 10 questions that buyers are searching based on Google and the results that are coming up with them and the answers for both people that are in Cleveland and the people that are outside somewhere else in a different state. Let's jump in. What's going on, guys? If you're new to the channel and you want to know all there is about living in Cleveland, Ohio, make sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so that you can stay up to date on all things Cleveland. My name is Kip Sweeney with Living Cleveland, Ohio, powered by Mancuso Homes, eXp Realty, and we help people just like yourself every single day looking to buy or sell, whatever that is, whether it's 90 days. We are here to help create that plan to make sure that you have a smooth and enjoyable transaction, really helping you in any way you need. So if I can do anything for you, make sure to contact me, send me a text, give me a call. Let's go ahead and meet up for some coffee, whatever it may be, and let's discuss your goals. What's going on, guys? We are back. We're here with another video, and just a quick update. My mom got me this for Christmas. It was very nice. She thought it would look nice. I don't know what I'm doing with it, honestly, so if it's annoying, if it doesn't look good, I don't know, just let me know. I'm experiencing with it, and sorry, I was looking at the camera rather than you guys. I'm trying to figure out whether I should keep that adjusted. I don't know. You're going to see that being moved around, but let me know if you're someone that's good with lighting. I would love to hear your thoughts and your opinions. And guys, we are currently filming this amidst this big storm in Ohio. I bring this up. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with Vern, one of those two, but nonetheless, I know you all have been hearing about it. However, we definitely got hit. It's just been snowing and snowing and snowing here. So if you want, I can send you some photos. Maybe I'll put some photos in here. I don't know. But nonetheless, just know that we get snow, right? If you're looking to move in Ohio, we get snow. And I'm sure a lot of you guys as well do. But I know I'm talking about Cleveland in this video a little bit too. So I just wanted to let you know, if you're thinking about relocation, be prepared for snow some winters because it is here and we've been getting hit pretty hard. To the point where apparently we actually are short on salt here in Cleveland. I'm not sure how, but that is the case. Alrighty, guys, as you know, buying a house is going to be one of the most biggest financial decisions of your lifetime. But what typically happens and what causes buyers to fail is not the numbers, not the money, but just because they don't ask the right questions. They aren't well informed all the times, and honestly, I hate to say it, but not a lot of agents can truly give you the right information or help you. You might have a newer agent, someone that doesn't care, someone that's just lazy. There's a lot of things that go into this, and obviously choosing the right agent is going to be important. I'm not going to get into all that. We're here for a different reason, but I want you to make sure you ask the right questions. Many buyers jump into the process without understanding the process, the systems, the strategy, the costs, the risks. And this just leads to buyers being overwhelmed, overpaying, being stressed, and really taking the fun out of what this can be. You're about to buy maybe a forever home, maybe a first time home, whatever that's going to be. You want that to be a fun and enjoyable process. And having the right questions will make it so it is that for you, your significant other, whoever else. Like I said, today I'm breaking down the top 10 asked questions via Google, and we are going to explain them not only on the national level, but also for the Cleveland, Ohio-based residents or people looking to move into the area. So make sure you stay tuned, watch the video, let me know what might be something you didn't know, what you did know, and if you have any other questions that aren't on the 10 that we're gonna review, I'll be happy to answer those as well. Just leave it in the comment, we can chat. Alrighty, so let's jump into number one. Question number one that most people search is going to be, how much can I actually afford? How much house can I actually afford? And many people view this from the wrong standpoint. They think it's all about the home price. But in reality, it's about the monthly lifestyle payments, because whether it's a certain budget you're trying to keep or whether there's a certain monthly budget, there's different ways to go about this, and different ways depending on your lifestyle and depending on where you're at how much you can afford, how much cash you have on hand, and so on. Just for reference, just because a bank pre-approves you for a certain amount doesn't mean you need to go for that amount. Doesn't mean you have to hit that top end, but at the same time, just because a bank approves you or a lender approves you for a certain amount doesn't mean you have to stay at that amount. So let's give this an example. If you get approved for a $500,000 home, but you want $800,000 home. That's like your dream home that has everything that you need. Let's say you have the funds, the cash, and you can make that difference. That is an option. Not saying it's a good option. It's going to depend on, hey, can I make these payments? Am I comfortable with this? And how does this look for me and my family every single month? Because defaulting would be the worst situation, right? So there are options, but at the same time, you can afford or be approved for a $500,000 home. But maybe those monthly payments don't seem like something you want to make every time. Hey, no worries. Let's find that house at a $350,000, $400,000 range. A monthly payment that can really meet. Because just because you're pre-approved for a certain amount, you have to remember the interest takes that monthly budget and really changes it up. Just because the bank approves you doesn't mean it's going to be comfortable for you. They look at your debt to income ratio, not your lifestyle, not the quality of life, not what's going to make you comfortable. So you have to understand those numbers and really break it down by the monthly payment for every single house. And I don't know where you all are, but if you are currently in a situation, you are currently working, if you have the right lender, they can give you a rough estimate of what that's going to look like, before you go into a house. So let's say you are on a buying hunt and you're in the process. Hey, ask your lender, hey, what does 123 Main Street look like from a monthly standpoint? They'll be happy to drop those estimates for you so that you can review it and get a comfortable look at what that might be for you. And remember, guys, owning a home isn't just your mortgage. It's the repairs, it's the upgrades, it's seasonal costs, it's unexpected costs. It's just your general life, right? So your monthly payment is going to include more than everyone kind of considers. There's going to be your mortgage, there's going to be your property taxes, there's going to be your insurance, there's going to be utilities, maintenance, there's going to be HOA maybe, there's going to be other lifestyle expenses. So it really has to be something you think about and consider every time you look at a house, because even if you're, going from one neighborhood to the next, one neighborhood might have no HOA and one neighborhood might have a $500 HOA per month. Hey, that $500 might make it unbearable for you to make that monthly payment and can derail everything. So really consider the outcome, the looks, and just really have a good understanding of what's going on. So Clevelanders, or people looking to Cleveland, what does this mean for you? Well, it really means that what really matters in Cleveland is that affordability looks different in every single suburb, in every single area. And this is why shopping by lifestyle is much more important than shopping by price. Because depending on where you want to be, depending on what you're looking for and what your life allots and what you do, what you enjoy, what makes you happy, that can place you in the right positions, because one suburb can be completely different from the next, with whether it's HOA, whether that's taxes. Property taxes are kind of crazy in Cleveland proper right now, whereas they're a little bit more manageable, a little bit more consistent and constant. There we go. But they're a little bit more constant. They're a little bit more consistent in some of the suburbs, right? Whereas Cleveland, a lot of things are coming. A lot of things are changing. A lot of things are gentrifying. And so, some of this brings higher property taxes, homes being built, all this other stuff. Cleveland proper can have some volatile property taxes. But again, for anyone looking in the area, you can easily get an idea of what these property taxes are going to look like by purchasing a house using tools online. And I can help you with this, but there's a way to go in and to get an estimate of what that property tax will look like. Can't say it's perfect, but at least you have a rough number. You're not going into it blind waiting for that, value to come out, the assessment and everything. So it's something, again, being prepared and asking the right questions is important. All right, guys, question number 2, should I get pre-approved before I start looking? And sorry, the last one is a little long. I'm going to try to quicken these a little bit, but yes, 100% yes. Yes. And if you have an agent that you're working with, I've said this in previous videos, that doesn't ask if you're pre-approved or doesn't care if you're pre-approved, then they are probably not the right agent to be using. Either inexperienced, B, they need business so they don't care, or C, they're not going to be a good agent, they're going to be lazy, they're not going to have the right information, things of that nature. And why? Being pre-approved is critical to understanding your buy box, to know where you're going to fall, what you want to spend, and understanding what we can look for. If you don't get pre-approved, you're going to find a house that you absolutely love, and you know what? You can't purchase it, and that's going to derail the rest of the process, because it's always going to be compared. Every house is going to be compared to that house that you can't afford, because we don't know what was affordable at the time, right? So being pre-approved is critical to the process to make sure that we are finding the right homes, doing the right research, and getting you the right criteria to ensure you're finding the home that's perfect for you and where you're at. in that current step. Not only that, but it also makes your offer stronger. So honestly, I don't really even know in other states, to be honest. I'm pretty sure it's everywhere now, but not having a pre-approval in hand upon your offer is always going to derail things. I've used that word already a ton of times, but it's always going to make things lessen. Your offer is going to be a lot weaker, and sellers are not going to view it as a strong offer. Doesn't mean you can't make that, whatever is offered doesn't mean you can't do it and qualify and, execute that contract, but it doesn't mean they think that. And having the pre-approval gives them that mindset that you can. So having the pre-approval upon offers, and honestly, a lot of times agents say, hey, you have to submit the pre-approval with the offer to be, to entertain an offer. So typically it's very, very important to have that pre-approval. So once again, in the Cleveland market, what does it look like for people? Well, again, in Cleveland, we have a hot market. Things are moving quickly. So pre-approval allows you to continue to get your foot in the door and get your offer seen, because without that pre-approval, a lot of people won't take it seriously, or if it's in multiples, you're just not going to win, because a seller is going to take more of a certainty to someone's offer rather than your own, right? So we want to make sure we have that offer in hand so that you can qualify for any house you want that fits the criteria, and sellers will take you serious. Question number 3, do I really need 20% down? No, you really don't need 20% down. And honestly, there's other ways. If you're a veteran, you can get 0% down. If you have a VA loan, you can go in at it with 0%. So there's a lot of different options. VA, FHA, conventional. There's other asset-based loans as well. A lot of things that we can look at. Every individual is different, so it's important to get a list of lenders, speak with them, discuss where you're at and what you're trying to do, and what homes you're looking at. And again, I can help recommend some. I have very close ties with a bunch, so just let me know and I'll be happy to assist you and help you with that. Now here's the caveat. You don't need 20% down. There's a lot of programs that assist, but putting less than 20% will typically lead you to what's called PMI, private mortgage insurance. Now, this is an extra cost per month, but you can get rid of it once you've hit that 80% paid off threshold. So one more caveat to that. Typically, you need to be the person that says, hey, I've met this, I'm at this 80% and I want PMI to be taken away. It's kind of in your hands to make sure that happens, which is unfortunate. Some places will do it automatically, but it's always good to make sure that you have that date in mind. Again, a lender can give you that date. They know it by the bill of monthly payments, and that date you want to make sure that you are prepared to get that PMI taken off your monthly payments. Now here's the real thing. Can you put down 20%? That's the question that needs to be asked. With the price of homes and things, affordability, 20% isn't that common as much. So if you can't put it down, that's okay. And there's other things to consider, right? If you don't put 20% down, but maybe you have the cash for 20% down, it's just that you want to use some of that cash to make some repairs, hey, no biggie. Some people also will go ahead and they're going to, if you put 3% down, let's say you close on your house and maybe you sold your house, right? So you had bought and now you're selling your house. One big important thing you need to ask your lender is if they'll recast loans. So essentially what that means is, let's say you get your lump sum from your home sold, but you've already bought your home, right? So you take that lump sum, you apply it, you put it toward your loan that you just bought. The lender can recast that loan and really they can go ahead and re-amortize the loan to make sure that those payments are now reflecting the new amount paid toward the home, the lump sum, right? So that's important to know that you can do that within your own loan, right? So making sure that the terms are appropriate for that to happen with your lender is also something you're gonna wanna ask, because that can also play a role. So in Cleveland, again, it's really no different. This one's pretty much a universal question. I don't think this really changes for Cleveland, but I've dealt with buyers who put 20% down. I've dealt with buyers who put 40% down. I've dealt with buyers who've put 3% down. And there's a lot of different ways that this plays. There's a lot of different factors that go into this, because if it's, being strapped on cash, there's ways around that. If it's just not wanting to put that amount down, whatever, you're okay with the PMI, depending on what your goals are, things of this nature, there's a lot of things that go into play. So always asking these questions to know what's going to be best for you is important, but just know that you don't have to put 20% down to buy a house. If that was something that's been holding you back, no, go ahead, get on a phone with a lender, get pre-approved, see what you can afford, and just take it from there. Question number 4, what credit score do I actually need? Well, this is different per loan type and per basis. So there's really no magic number, and the credit requirements depend on the loan type, the the risk profile, and the lender qualifications, their guidelines. So there's no magic number to your credit score, but I will say it does play a role. There's a difference between qualifying and qualifying well for a house, for a loan. So you do want to make sure that you have that credit score. You can definitely you can definitely qualify with lower credit, but better credit's going to always give you better terms, better rates, just better long-term affordability. So you really want to just work on that credit. Whether your goal is to buy a house in 3 years or 5 years, or if you're looking to buy a house now, it's still important to speak to the lender because lenders have a lot of tools in their pocket to help bring your credit score up. So just because your credit score is looking maybe bleak at the moment, doesn't mean that that's going to stop you. And it doesn't mean that it can't change pretty quickly, because a lot of lenders, again, they can tell you what to change, what to do, what to pay off, what not to pay off, what to do in that realm, in your world, to get that credit score to bump up pretty quickly so that you qualify better. So it's just about again, asking those questions, right? That's all that I keep talking about. So Cleveland, again, same thing. You know, credit score is credit score. It's not going to change if you're in Cleveland. It's not going to change if you're in Columbus. It's not going to change if you're in California. It's not going to change if you're in New York, right? So it doesn't matter. Credit is credit, but it's important to make sure that you have the understanding you can fix that credit pretty easily when speaking with lenders, right? And I can direct you that way. But in Cleveland, with the way things are going, with how fast things, having that better credit, to have that better loan, to have that better offer is going to help you get that home that you want, win in multiples and so on. But again, buying smart is about preparation and not rushing. So just make sure you use this information and apply it to yourself. You may already know all this stuff, but some people out there may not. All right. Question number 5, how much are closing costs? Now, this one is kind of different per country. Wow. Per state. I don't know what it is in other countries, but per state, yes. So closing costs are fluctuating. They are always different. This is where buyers kind of get surprised. You know, they have a different mindset, a different notion of what real estate is done, how it's done. But closing costs are going to typically range between 2 to 5% of the purchase price. So it depends on your loan, your taxes, insurance, the fees, and lender structure. So closing costs, again, entail all of what I just said, right? The fees, appraisals, some of the loan origination, some of the stuff from title. Title does the work to make sure that, you know, the abstract, making sure that there's not going to be any surprise owners coming to try to take the house from you, right? So closing costs entail quite a bit, but they can also entail buyer agent commission. Now, this is something that has changed quite dramatically since 2026? Wow. 2024 in August. What happened? Oh, there's a settlement, blah, blah, blah. Things got a lot more clear. So the clarity actually caused it where sellers still pay some of that closing costs, but it's not the same. Now there's buyers having to sign a buyer agency agreement upon working with an agent. We can't show homes without it. If you get someone to show you a house without it, that's unethical. Nonetheless, it is fine. I mean, I shouldn't say that. It's not necessarily fine, but just keep that in mind. If you're working with an agent that does that, it could lead to some other things. However, just make sure that you understand up front, again, with whatever agent you're working with, what their commission is. How does that work? You know, for example, working with me, I have a certain percentage, but we always go to get the seller to pay that percent. And there's different ways to get this to happen, different ways to make this happen, right? It's how you structure the actual offer, right? But it's something to know. A lot of agents don't say anything until the end. And then all of a sudden a buyer gets a their closing loan disclosure, and they're like, what are these closing costs and all that? And they're looking at it and they're like, what is this extra $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 that I owe? Like, where did that come from? So it's important to have clarity, to be prepared to ask the right questions. Now, closing costs are separate from your down payment. Both affect your cash to close, okay? So make sure you understand they're not the same. However, again, there's ways to structure this to make it so you have the money to close. And there's ways to get estimates to do this as well. Now, in Cleveland, it's really very, very similar, right? The property taxes, the title structures, the lender fees, all of that does go into your closing costs, but also some local regulations. So it's also important to know working with someone that is an expert in the local area is critical. Now, it's not just online calculations. It's not just, saying, okay, this is how much I owe. There's ways to get this down with your offer, getting cash back from the seller, maybe to help with your down payment, to help with commission, to help with cash to close, whatever it may be. So always ask these questions and let someone know. Be honest, truthful about where you are, the cash that you have, so that everyone, the agent, the lender, understands, hey, what do we need to get this down, right? So for example, I'll give you one real quick. I'm sorry, this is gonna be a long video, I apologize. However, good information, I hope. I had a first-time home buyer, 24 years old, right? We went in on an offer and we went to buy a house, and I knew how much she needed to close, how much cash. So we were asking for 2% back in concessions from the seller so she could apply that to her loan, to her money. Now, she had a kind of a different loan just because she is a nurse, so she has a little bit of a different, she qualifies for healthcare, for a different loan from the healthcare industry. Lenders have all this. But so essentially what I'm getting at is that she needed some assistance for the cash to close. She didn't have it on hand. No worries. We got 2% concessions after going back and forth, negotiation, blah, 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 blah. And actually at the end of that, she actually got a little bit of money back. It wasn't a lot, maybe $50 to $100, but because we got money from the seller, because she was getting a little bit assistance, and because she only put 3% down, she actually ended up getting money back. So it was actually a win-win for her when she bought her first home. But these are just things that I'm saying. Every situation is different. So make sure that you let people know that situation and what it looks like for you. Question number 6. How long does the buying process take? It's such a general question, right? I mean, it could differ for everyone. I've had people, we've bought a house in 2 weeks. We've bought a house in 45 days. We bought a house in 30 days, 35 days, right? It's different for every single person. There's a lot of different things that go into play here. Majority of the time, if you're getting a loan, we're going to look at no less than 30 days of being under contract, right? If you're getting that loan, and that's not true necessarily, we can actually speed that up just a little bit depending on the house. And if you were to be open, if you knew there was a house, if you knew you were ready to go, you can get loans where the underwriting kind of takes place a little bit more. It takes place ahead of time, so that even though you're getting a loan, the underwriting has already kind of been completed. So we can kind of forego some of those days to make sure that we can close a little bit quicker, so that you actually are a little bit more competitive if we're in multiples and so on. So there are those options as well. But normally it's going to be 30 to 45 days with a loan. Here in Cleveland, the only reason why I ever had a 45-day loan, and this is going to be something to consider, in the buying process, there's delays, there's appraisals, there's inspections, there's financing, there's repairs, all these different things that can cause a slight delay, right? So these things need to be taken into consideration. They can change the closing date. Things can happen, snowstorms can happen and cause things to be delayed as well because of signatures. So it's something that you need to know, that even though you're going to close on a select date, it doesn't mean you're going to close on that date. I just house in Columbia Station where we were supposed to close on a select date. Not going to name the financing company, but they actually weren't prepared to close on that date because they lost paperwork and they lost stuff. So then we had to wait another 12 days to be able to close. Now, I'm not going to name names, but what I am going to say with the story is that to get a loan, I know banks are enticing because if you bank with them, they usually give you a little bit better rates, better options, things of that sort. But anytime I've had something delayed because of financing, it's been a bank issue. So just take it into consideration. Lenders are usually going to be a lot better just because that's their job. They are only doing that, right? They're not banking in other things as well. So just make sure that you understand that. Not saying all banks are the same way, but just know that if you have a specific deadline time frame to make, just keep that in mind. But nonetheless, how long does the buying process take? There's obviously going to be things prior, right? Your pre-approval, the buying search, finding the right home, all that other stuff. But once under contract, it's going to be typically around 30 to 40 days, at least with myself in Cleveland. So it's just something to consider. Now, again, in Cleveland, for you Clevelanders, timelines can change because we do have a lot of older homes. So inspections and repairs might take some time. There's things called point of sale, which is something that some cities here have, and those require repairs to be made prior to closing, unless the buyer assumes them. So, that's a whole nother story. But some transactions can take a little longer because of the age of the home, because of the things, because of the condition, all that. But nonetheless, like I said, you can also do it in a week, 2 weeks. I've been in both, so just know that it is possible. It just all depends on your terms. Question number 7. Now, I find this a little bit of an odd question that is asked so commonly, but it's what contingencies should I include? Now, why I say is it kind of odd to see, I don't really understand. Are these being searched when you guys are under contract? Are these being searched when you're writing offers? Because why necessarily are these why is this not searched? Nonetheless, I will definitely share with you, and your agent should too, but contingencies obviously protect you. Now, I would always include all the contingencies whenever you can. Now, this is inspections, right? Your appraisal, that's always going to happen if you're getting a loan, so you don't have to really worry about that, but these are going to be making sure that you have the financing, right? Being able to continue with it and so on. And so contingencies are very important. The time that you have to do the inspections and just things like that. So why these change? So for the most part, these contingencies are built into the contracts here in Cleveland. So unless we omit them or unless we decline them, then they're going to be there. But it includes an inspection contingency, the appraisal contingency. Now, obviously you're getting an appraisal if you are getting a loan, but the contingency allows you to kind of, you don't get trapped with that house at that price if it doesn't appraise. You and the seller are going to discuss, and of course, financing contingencies for yourself. If let's say you don't get that loan, because even though you are pre-approved doesn't mean you can make it happen. Let's say you get pre-approved, you go under contract, you buy a car. Well, shucks. You got a new loan that might have just taken you out of the picture of getting that house. So again, make sure you're not doing that, but things to consider. Now, why would you ever forego these contingencies? I feel like that's another question that should be a follow-up question. Oh, well, there's another question coming up. But anyway, it's all going to come down to the competitiveness of your offer, how many people are looking at it, how many offers are on there, what do you need to do to win that offer, and what are you comfortable with? So a lot of this takes place, and let's talk about it in the next question as I'm seeing it. But in Cleveland, the inspections matter more than ever. The appraisal matters more than ever, because right now, things are booming, and so prices are going up. We are usually a little bit below the national average, so things are moving up towards that. So while this stuff is changing, some sellers might try to get a little bit higher than they should. So just make sure that you're getting that. And then of course, the financing contingency, that is what it is, right? So that's going to be the same everywhere it is. All right, question number 8. How do I make a competitive offer without overpaying? So based on what we were just talking about, this is going to be what I was going to jump into, but the contingencies, that's how you're going to make a competitive offer without overpaying, right? So let's start with the inspection contingency. Maybe you, maybe myself, maybe obviously I would always be there to help and to guide, but it's your call at the end. Or maybe you have a family member that is very familiar with homes, construction, know what to look for, all that. Obviously, I'm always pointing it out to you. And again, it's your call. But the inspection contingency, if you see the home, you see it maybe once or twice, you see it well, there's a chance that you'll feel comfortable. Or of course, if it's a newly built home, let's say in the past 4 years, you can feel pretty good that it doesn't need anything. So both of those, different scenarios, but both in play. However, let's say that's the case for the house. Well, maybe you forego the inspection contingency to make sure that you can continue moving forward and you can kind of entice the seller to work with you with your offer, because that's one less thing that they have to worry about, the repairs or the coming back and forth negotiation of that inspection report. So that's one thing to consider. Another thing to consider, because an offer isn't just price. As a good agent, I'm calling and building a relationship with that seller's agent to understand what they need, what position are they in, and what can we do with our offer to help them. So again, that could be a timeline. Maybe we get all our contingencies, but they need to stay in the house, or they need to close. What are we in? January? Maybe they need to close in February, late February, right? Because it's late January. So maybe they need to close, let's say early March. I'm sorry. So outside that typical range that people are looking for, maybe they have that necessity and you give it to them. You say, hey, we can close late. Or maybe you rent back the house to them for a small fee. Or sometimes a seller needs to find a house before they can sell. So sometimes it becomes dependent on the seller finding their new home before being able to commit to selling. So hey, in their terms, we say, all right, cool, no worries, we completely understand that, and we give you that. So we're gonna make sure that you have that and you have that time, we're open to that, but we still want your house when you're ready, right? Stuff like that. Now, it'd be different and be in a contract to make sure that it's not, hey, just tell us when you're ready, but those are 2 times when, hey, you get those contingencies and you get to keep them. But of course, a clean offer with good financing, right? Not trying to do something crazy within the financing, not try to get seller financing or get creative with all this, none of the investor side of things, but having flexibility, timelines, and sometimes forgoing those contingencies are critical. Now, sure, times where maybe you do have to put a little extra money down, but maybe that's going to be the last chance. Or maybe if you really, really want it, then okay, that also is very enticing, because even though it's about structure, let's be real, price is definitely a part of it all as well. So in the end, clean offers, clean financing, a strong pre-approval. And again, strong pre-approval could be your pre-approval, and then usually I'll have my lender call their seller or the listing agent to say, hey, very, very strong buyer, nothing to worry about here. So, everything will be good. And then of course, if you do have that, maybe they can say, there's different things to move forward with that, but having them reassuring you as a buyer is very, very good, very strong. So consider that as well. But having that plus smart contingencies are just going to win more than overpaying, because overpaying is not great for you. Sometimes the seller's like, I don't need that. I don't want that money. I need the time. So they just are like, hey, whatever, we'll forego that. Question number 9, we are nearing the end. And I love this question here. Can I buy with student loans or low savings? Yes, 100%, right? So DTI matters, a debt to income ratio. That's what your seller is going to be looking for, or sorry, your loan officer, your lender is going to be looking for when they pre-approve you. But that budgeting obviously matters, and the strategy. So all this stuff does go into play. Obviously, we want to see what you can afford by going to the loan officer, to a lender, getting pre-approved to understand what that looks like for you. So, in the case of student loans, you understand, hey, what does that look like? How much can I afford? And what does my buybacks look like with student loans, right? So having that information is key, and then we can play it around that, but you certainly can still buy. Now, with low savings, yes, once again, we can revisit. I'm not going to take you through it again, but revisit the story about my friend who we, bought first-time home buyer. She's a nurse, low savings. She needed money to help with the down payment because she didn't have it on hand. And there's, again, ways around that. It's not about perfection. It's about planning. And planning comes with, again, you telling us your story. Not asking for everything and only that you're comfortable sharing, but things that matter to make sure we get you into your perfect home. But for Clevelanders, I see this all the time. I mean, like I said, our home averages are coming up quite quickly, honestly. So for first-time home buyers, it's really the case for a lot of them where the savings isn't really always there. And with the price of the homes that we have here, they need some assistance. They need some help. And so by building the proper buy box offer and structuring everything correctly, it is very much so doable. And of course, understanding the monthly budget that they are looking for when they purchase a home. All right, question number 10. I almost don't want to even say this because it's going to seem like I put this in here, but I promise you I did not. I had my editor pull these for me. So who should I work with as my agent? So now it looks like I'm selling you, but it doesn't matter because maybe you're not even in the state. Maybe you don't care about Cleveland. Nonetheless, you're not going to work with an agent. You're going to work with a strategist, okay? Because understanding their process, them understanding who you are, what you look for, what you're looking for, your buy box, what your life and lifestyle is like is key. If you just have someone saying, hey, Joe, what house are you looking for? What kind of criteria, how many beds do you want, baths, what's your budget? Okay, maybe the budget isn't even correct. Maybe you don't even know if you want 3 bedrooms. Maybe you need more than 2 baths. Maybe you want a basement. But none of this is going to be determined if you don't talk about your lifestyle. How many kids do you have? Do you have a family? All this different stuff. What do you guys like to do? How much space do you need? Do you need a basement? Do the kids need a playroom? A lot of stuff that takes into consideration. Do you need an office? Things that people need to understand as a real estate agent. Whoever you're going to work with, they need to be a strategist. They need to get to know you. You need to get to know them and enjoy that time with them. You should like them. Maybe you might talk to the best agent in the world. I don't care. And you might not like them. You might not click with them. So you might not want to work with them. It doesn't matter. You need to be happy with who you're working with because this is a big purchase, but also because you're going to spend a lot of time with them. So make sure that it's someone that you enjoy talking to, that you want to be around, that's like-minded, that's has the same interests, but also has your back, right? And that's part of all this too. So people might like me, people might not like me. I don't know. And that's okay. I'm here to make sure I'm helping the individuals that want to work with me. And whether you like me or not, make sure you are doing your due diligence on your agent. Make sure you're asking the right questions. Make sure that they are asking the right questions or getting to know you. Because it's about numbers, the monthly budget, as we spoke about, but it's not then just about saying, all right, here's my needs on my house. How do you know that? How do they know that? If they're just asking those questions, they're just looking at these needs, right? 3 beds. All right, good. This checks it off. But if they understand what those 3 bedrooms are used for or what they might be used for, then some of those houses, some of those layouts, they might not make sense for you. So not only would it be wasting time for you, it'd be wasting time for the agent. That's their own fault. But it just might not be a good fit then. Now, of course, I told you need someone that is a strategist, but you need someone that understands negotiations, they understand structure, protection, they understand risk, financing, inspections, they understand the home, right? And because part of it and part of what we're doing is helping you not necessarily look at, well, okay, what's this layout like? Where's my furniture go? But it's understanding what are we seeing with walls? What are we seeing with pipes? What are we seeing with drainage? What are we seeing in different ways? How does the structure look? And all of this different stuff. All of that is part of this to make sure that you're making the best and the correct financial decision. We wouldn't want to get you into a house and then find out this thing is coming down in 1 year. So in Cleveland, why does this matter? A lot of it matters because of zoning, inspections, just the taxes with the what neighborhoods are getting higher tax and so on, just the housing stock, where to look and what's going to be good for you, but the deal structure in essence. And just basically because in Cleveland, the market is shifting and it's been shifting and You know, some houses are going to go, if you're in Cleveland, I'll just give you an example, like understanding what you can afford in Rocky River or Chagrin Falls is not going to be the same of what you can afford in Fairview Park or Mayfield, right? So east-west side comparisons, but it's understanding that, you know, someone that has a local knowledge of where it's going to be a good fit based on your lifestyle, right? If you know nothing about Cleveland and you told me your lifestyle, I'll be like, hey, here are going to be the best fits for you. This is going to be where we should look. We can look elsewhere, but these are the areas where I'd say do the most research on, because I understand them. I understand that it's going to fit, whether it's a park, whether it's space, whether it's land. You know, in Pepper Pike, you have at least an acre of land when you purchase a house, but it doesn't mean that it's all trees or not. So that's also something to consider. But nonetheless, I've been rambling long enough. It is important. Just do your due diligence. Whether you're working with me, someone else, make sure they're asking the right questions. I hope this video helped, but make sure that you are prepared and you are ready to make this decision and this purchase. So guys, that is it. I know there was a lot of stuff here. It was a long video. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you stayed to the end. I'm sure you guys have a lot of answers to many of these questions just because they were the top 10, but I really hope that no matter where you are, whether you're here in Ohio, somewhere around here, looking to be in Ohio, or you're anywhere else in the US, I hope this helps you think smarter and not just faster. But if you're in the Cleveland area, if you're looking to move into the Cleveland area, I would be happy to create a game plan and strategize with you, navigate this process, and get you into the best home. So hit the subscribe button, hit that bell, give me a call, shoot me a text, whatever it may be. I'll be happy to assist you. All right? So stay tuned to the next video. I do a seller video and a buyer video every week. I hope you enjoy them. But let me know if there's anything you want to hear, anything you want to know about. You can follow me on Instagram, just if you want to see my personal life, get to know me a little better. But otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Take care and have a great rest of your day.